Good morning again. We are going to introduce you guys to some of the animal ambassadors in case you haven't had a chance to meet them before, and introduce you to a few of the animal curators as well. First off, we are doing this in honor of North Texas Giving Day, and so far we've raised over $7,000. I can't remember the exact amount, but we're doing great so far. So thank you so much to all of the generous supporters who have participated so far. We're looking to ultimately, hopefully, raise about $30,000 so that we can replace and upgrade the Animal Care Cottage. So we are nearly a quarter of a way there, so that's great, and just thank you so much. First up, Juan is going to introduce you guys to our 3 non-releasable white-tailed deer, and we are about to go in. So we have our first person joining us, and other people will join in later and can watch it later. So here we go. We will flip the video around, and we are going into their sort of play yard. We are going to show you some of the enrichment activities that they get on a regular basis. We are taking in some hackberry.
It doesn't line up all the way.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. And just for safety, we are closing up the gates behind us. Okay, and so this is the main part of their enclosure, but here is the play yard where they also spend a ton of time. And if you're familiar with deer, they pretty much eat anything in sight. So there are only a few plants that really can survive their voracious appetite. One of those being cowpin daisies. So if you're looking for a great landscaping idea in a deer-rich environment, cowpin daisies are great for your landscaping. This is Dawn, right?
Yes.
And she is coming in to check out her enrichment. And again, this is hackberry. It's a regular part of their diet, something that they would normally browse on out in the wild. Juan, would you like to talk about anything, or?
So other than the branches, we also have some treats. For the deer, we probably have the least amount of different kinds of enrichment. We're still trying to figure out some stuff that work well for them. So we have like branches that will stick out for them. We sometimes fill boxes or bags with treats that they can kind of dig through and rip into. And other than that, we also have treats, or sometimes when the season is right, we'll take a bunch of acorns and kind of toss them around the field here and have them find them, which is basically what I'll be doing with the treats. I'll just place them in spots for them.
Ooh, walnuts and cranberries.
Favorite treats.
And would you mind talking a little bit about why some of them are non-releasable?
Yes.
Well, actually, all of them are non-releasable, but I mean,
correct.
If you could give some of their background is what I mean.
So the 2 that you see over there are both in here for medical reasons. The one that's further back, her name is Fuzz. Her story, when she was at a previous facility, we believe she got her front leg wrapped up in some wire, maybe some fencing, and it ended up breaking, and in the healing process it didn't quite heal properly. So kind of where her hoof is, what would kind of be like her wrist, kind of healed stiff. She doesn't have her total mobility that a normal deer would have. Out of those 2, she gets around the best. She can still run around really fast, but She's just not quite up to standards for a wild deer.
And she kind of uses that fourth leg as a crutch, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, she does. Well, when she walks around, you can kind of see that she bends her wrist and kind of doesn't properly use it all the time. And then closer to us, we have Trio, which is named that because she had part of her leg amputated. When she was younger at a previous facility, she either encountered a pack of coyotes or stray dogs, and they got a hold of her, and that's how she ended up losing that leg. And same thing as Fuzz, her mobility is affected by that, so she would not really survive in the wild, and that's why she has to be here with us.
And so just to reiterate, these things happened when they were young, before they came here, and rehabbers basically brought them to us so that they could live out their lives in a protected and taken for facility. Because like you said, they are not able to get away from predators and things like that.
And then we have Dawn here that's kind of following me around because she knows I have the treats.
And she is the youngest, right?
Yes, she is the youngest. She is our newest addition. We got her earlier last year, late last year. She is here with us because she was trapped in somebody's apartment, actually, in Denton. I think there was an anonymous tip, and the authorities came and got her out of that apartment. She is healthy. She can get around normally, but because she was with people for as long as she was, especially in her younger years, she's pretty adapted to people, and that's not a great thing when it comes to wildlife, because that usually leads to more encounters with people, which usually leads to an accident, and then that's when animal control gets involved, and an animal usually needs to get put down. So that is why she is here with us today.
Thanks for explaining that. Again, here are the other two girls. Ooh, no sudden movements. Here are the other two girls, and they're getting some little surprises. You want to give me a little bit for Trio? Because I think she'll...
Well, the thing with Trio is that she had a bit of a wound. We believe it was caused by a spider in her chest that just would not heal properly for the longest time. It has finally healed, but because of that, we would have to be pretty hands-on with her daily and put some medication on there.
Right.
And she doesn't totally love new people because of that. That's why she's a little skittish.
Here you go.
You can also see that her fur doesn't look too great. She has some seasonal allergies that affect her skin, and she'll usually rub on trees and bark, so she rubs the fur off, and that's why she looks patchy like that. It's definitely gotten a lot better than she used to be, though. Her skin used to be all red and irritated, and clearly that is not the case anymore.
And you see a lot of this on the deer out in the wild as well. It just kind of depends on the weather patterns and how their skin adapts to it, much like ours. Some of us have eczema and psoriasis and things like that, and that sort of thing happens in deer as well. Would you like to talk about maybe what happens if somebody finds a fawn alone out in the woods somewhere, things like that? I know it's not quite baby season, but...
Yeah, so a lot of the time what deer will do and mama deer will do when they have their fawns, especially when they're still so little that they can't really follow mom along too well, they get tired, they don't know how to use their legs properly. Mom will leave and go find food and forage while the baby sits in a spot for most of the day. So if you come across a fawn that's just laying down in the ground, it's probably not abandoned. The mom is just out looking for food and will be back soon.
So it's important to make sure that you know what you're looking at and not accidentally orphan them unnecessarily, because she does leave them in a place that she feels is safe, but she is away for a little bit from them, but they're not abandoned.
And that's part of the reason why the fawns have the spots that they do, because they lay on the floor, so it kind of simulates dappled sunlight coming in through the canopy and hitting the floor.
As you can hear, there is a field trip here today, and the animals can hear it, and that is one of the reasons we do ask people to use indoor voices outside. I know it's really hard, but it is so beneficial for the wildlife. And not only that, but when you're out on our trails, I feel like you tend to see more if you're respectful of their home as well. So you can definitely hear from their perspective what's going on when they're out there. So next time that you visit, just keep in mind, this is why we ask you to keep the voices down. Fortunately, they seem pretty acclimated, but it's still a nice thing to do for them.
And from a guest perspective too, I imagine most people come here to get away from
Yeah,
that type of stuff.
definitely.
Relax a little bit.
I feel like a lot of people come into nature for a peaceful sort of situation. Mary Riley Samuels says, "Thanks, Juan."
Thank you, Mary. Thanks for watching.
So the girls are enjoying their hackberry. Hi.
And we also have this big pecan tree in here every now and then. If we don't have time to put down a branch for them, we'll just grab onto this and pull it down for them just enough so that they can get some leaves. Dawn and Fuzz will sometimes stand up on their back legs and get some of the taller leaves. Unfortunately, Trio cannot do that.
I think it's important to mention again that they tend to eat anything that's green inside, almost.
Yeah.
Even national parks and things like that, where they've lost a lot of the natural predators, run into issues where the deer will eat everything at the level that they can reach. And so there are a lot of national parks that are kind of revitalizing as they add in more predators to keep the populations in check, in favor of also supporting the plant life. Now she's going around foraging.
That's why it was so important to bring back gray wolves.
Yeah.
Stabilize these populations.
Support our gray wolves. We love our deer, but we also need to balance the ecosystems. Is that so tasty? I wonder how they feel about the berries.
Yeah, I think they prefer the leaves to the berries, but they'll eat the berries as well.
I think the berries have like a really huge seed inside, right?
They're a little more popular with birds.
Is that so good?
Our neighbors kind of like them too.
Is that so good? You digging your tongue out. That's cute. I wish it would let me see where my battery's at.
Oh, it doesn't.
My phone is getting pretty old, so I brought back up power.
Oh, smart.
But it doesn't let you see while you're doing the live stream where I'm at. So I get nervous.
Risky, yeah.
So yeah, so it may not be obvious from the outside. You may see this enclosure, and that's not their only space that they live in. They also have this really big yard for them to roam around in, and when the plants manage to keep up with them, they get to nibble on those as well and anything that pokes through. And we provide a lot of supplemental food as well. So this is what they've got. And again, these are non-releasable because of health reasons and things like that. 2 of them are here because of their health, and the third one is imprinted. I guess imprinted is not technically the right term, but acclimated to humans, too acclimated. And the problem there is that often animals that are too acclimated will come up to people of the general public that don't understand and think perhaps that it's sick or whatever.
Or that they're being attacked.
Or that they're going to be attacked. Or sometimes even if they do calmly come up, then they can get scared at the last minute, and then you're close to them, and then that's when the danger can happen as well. Or if
you're feeding a wild animal, they can at times get kind of aggressive with the food too.
That's a good point. So there's really a lot of reasons that it's better for them once they get to that situation to not be out in danger of being with the public. So
enjoy with your eyes. Take a photo, maybe. I would also like to add that we ideally would like to grow more vegetation in this yard, but given its location, you probably can't tell too much from the video, but we're at a slope here, and when it rains, there's just a whole bunch of erosion that kind of drains away any nutrients from the soil, all the topsoil. That's why you can see it's all sandy. It makes it really hard to grow much else other than the cowpen daisies and some of these other plants in here. And then on top of that, they eat pretty much anything that pops out of the ground.
As soon as it's ready.
Yeah.
And anybody with a garden where there's also deer probably fully understands that also. But it is really interesting to see. I don't know what it is about these cowpen. Oh, I'm sorry, girl. I didn't mean to. There's something about these cowpen daisies that they don't really seem to like. And so they tend to leave them be. So the vegetation that you see in here tends to be cowpen daisies. Sometimes milkweed will pop up, but about everything else
We used to have some wild onion, but we got rid of that.
yeah, about everything else that pops up gets immediately eaten. So, well, would you like to visit someone else, or?
Yeah, we can go and check in with the other Juan. Tita is in surgery. Our gray fox.
So we are now going to go visit our gray fox. Whoops, lost my sunglasses.
We will be trimming that tree.
Well, I was short enough to go under it. My sunglasses weren't.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Good.
Okay, keeping everybody secure. Here's your behind the scenes tour. And again, there is a field trip here today, so you may see some of those folks. Some of our staff.
What do you think? Do you want to go in with her?
I think it'll be okay. She gets really excited, and it turns out that she really likes my ankles. So.
She's distracted enough by Juan and the enrichment.
What kind of enrichment do you have for her?
So we have a handful of things today. She likes to play around with all kinds of stuff. I'll show you before we go in. We have, this is full of worms inside, and it makes a fun noise. She likes to grab it by the string and sort of swing it around a bit, so hopefully we'll get some action on that. We also have a little bit of grass we like to hang out for her to eat, since she's an omnivore. She eats all kinds of stuff, and we try to keep our diet balanced. And then we have some stuff for a dig bin, so we can simulate her foraging around, and some live grasshoppers. Hopefully she'll go after these guys. That'll be a good time.
Because they are omnivorous, meaning they eat both plants.
I threw in a bit of chicken skin in the
and
big kit
animals.
bag, so you can stash that somewhere too.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to hide
And you
them.
want to explain why it's labeled with their name?
Right, so we tried to keep all these things to a particular animal because of the smell and everything else, so they don't sense a different animal that has gone through their enrichment or their toys or whatever it is. So everything is particular to a single animal, and we just rinse it and reuse it. I think we are ready to go. We'll get that door closed up.
Got it?
Alright.
There we go.
Hello. Let's go ahead and back up a little bit. Yeah. Gonna put these two back and we'll bring them out later.
Oops, sorry.
There you go.
I didn't fully understand what you're saying.
Okay, so this one, hopefully she'll sniff it. Hey, Kita.
Oh, exciting stuff.
She really likes to go after the grass. easy as soon as we put it out.
What kind of grass is that? Is it just regular,
Yeah, I think it's
like Bermuda? Or?
Right out here, probably.
That's really interesting. Hi.
Yes, it's this whole
Interest you in this toy, although clearly she loves the grass.
That's really interesting. I wouldn't have expected her to be
Right,
so...
it's not something you would think a fox would immediately go after, but she has always enjoyed her grass, and in fact, she got to the point sometimes where she was eating a whole lot of it, so we had to give her a little less because she would eat every last bit.
That's funny. Because there's so many animals that are supposed to eat grass, and you're like, please eat the grass instead of the other stuff. We do have activities for homeschooler Tammy. Actually, our homeschool natural science program started this week. So next week would be the second week. So it's not really too late to join in, I believe. And those meet weekly, once a week. I believe it's 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. on Tuesdays. So we do offer that. Oh, what she got?
Okay.
She's not feeling it.
No, not feeling that way. And she's kind of unpredictable. Like, she'll pretend like she doesn't care and then randomly grab it and toss it around, which is something we always talk about her is like the hybrid behavior between dogs and cats, because she's clearly canine, obviously, but she does a lot of things that are more cat-like, like the way she climbs all over this enclosure. She's able to climb all the way to the ceiling if she wants to. She sort of leap around all over the place. Let's see if you are interested.
And an interesting fact about gray foxes is that they are one of the 2 Canidae species that climb trees. The other one being, I think, raccoon dogs. And this is actually historically the most prevalent species of fox in the area. But they tend to be a little bit shyer of people, which is not exhibited by Nikita, obviously. But they tend to be a little bit shyer of people, and so it has left kind of a niche for red foxes to move in, and so that's why you may tend to see them a little more commonly than the gray fox. So right now, she's just engaging in an enrichment activity where she's looking for high-value treats just to keep her stimulated and interested. She also is very acclimated to people. I can't remember exactly her backstory. Oh, she wants my cord.
Or she loves anything that dangles on your body. I make sure to take off my headphones, keys, anything that jingles and dangles around. She cannot let it go.
We'll tuck that. We'll tuck that in the pocket.
Yeah, this is, like I said, just to simulate her natural behavior. The animals in the wild spend most of their time looking for food, so when they get fed on a regular basis like we do, it really kind of takes away what they stimulate with that feeling. So we have to find activities that will keep them stimulated and interested.
Oh, sorry about that, Tammy. Hey, when I get back to the office, I'll type in a reply and I'll send you a link so you can see better. In the meantime, if you want to go to herdmuseum.org/homeschool, there's a lot of information there about the program I was talking about. But I'll reply later. It's kind of hard on my phone, but I'm glad you asked. So again, if you're just joining in, we are showing some of the enrichment activities that we do with our animal ambassadors in honor of North Texas Giving Day, so that you can understand what we're trying to raise money for, because we know that with an improved facility for preparing their food and cleaning their bowls and things like that, our staff will just have so much more time to provide activities like this that they clearly enjoy. And so we've raised over $7,000 so far, and that is about a quarter of our goal. And we just are so appreciative of the people that have contributed so far. And we do have some field trippers that are also observing us right now. I am also on exhibit.
Uh-oh. Looks like she's picked out all the craisins and left everything else, which is pretty Heather digging the greens is everybody's favorite treat. Now I put some stuff hidden in her dig bin. Hopefully she'll start looking for it.
So, and obviously the craisins aren't a regular part of her diet, but it is an acceptable treat, and so something that she really enjoys. So when we're trying to do enrichment activities, we try to do the high value treats that they don't get in their daily diet, just to motivate them to forage and do all kinds of normal activities that are normal for a gray fox, for example.
She's sticking around trying to pick her favorite. I guess that's
And
all she
she's
was
really
interested in.
liking my new shoes. Oh, I say that, but she didn't go for them just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you have some grasshoppers for her?
I do have some grasshoppers. Hey, Kita. I wonder if she'll go after these guys.
Several of the animals really enjoy grasshoppers because they are the omnivorous and carnivore species because it kind of allows them to replicate their their natural habitat of chasing prey. Woo! Look at her go. She's such a hunter.
Caught that one quick.
She got that one really fast. Oop, there it goes. And as you gardeners know, the grasshoppers are very prolific, so it is an excellent protein source, and definitely when they're out in the environment, keeping them in check, you can understand how that can be good for our ecology because it allows some of the plants to live despite the grasshoppers.
There you go.
Tasty grasshopper. Crunchy.
You can tell it took her a few bites to get it. That's one thing we've noticed about her is that she has a hard time sometimes killing prey. So we don't give her a whole lot of light prey because sometimes she just really doesn't go after it, doesn't know what to do with it. And those are the kind of the things that make her non-releasable and just not ill-adapted to be in the wild. This is a gray fox.
In addition to, apparently when the game warden went to assess her when she was first found, she immediately crawled up into the game warden's lap. So at that point he realized that she was too acclimated to be out and about.
In fact, when she first got here, she had a tendency to want to crawl on your lap and lay on her back. So like that gave us a pretty clear indication that she'd been bottle fed. She just wanted to assume that position on your hands and just be bottle fed and pet. So, which is, again, not normal fox behavior.
Right. And so it's important to emphasize, if you're not familiar with wild animals, it might sound fun or interesting that they be so interested in you. But it can really create a lot of problems for the wildlife safety itself, and sometimes even the public, because there's so many variables that can happen in those situations, ranging from... we had one animal ambassador years ago that had been mistaken for being rabid and was almost had one of the persons that intervened not realize that she was just he was acclimated. He probably would have been euthanized. So that obviously wouldn't have been good for that animal. So there can be confusion. There can be animals become aggressive over the food that you're trying to give them unexpectedly, or they get too close because you have food and then suddenly get skittish around you and then become dangerous. There are just so many reasons that once they become acclimated that it's just really a good resource for them to not be out in the public. As you can see, she is very interested in my phone.
Yeah, and like she's an animal that you can spend time with and feel like she's almost domesticated, but you got to keep two eyes on her at all times because she can very quickly turn around and like maybe bite you somewhere or like go after something that she's interested in. One time, for example, I forgot to take a cereal bar out of my pocket, and it's gone. And fortunately, obviously, she didn't bite me. She just bit the cereal bar. But it's just little things like that where you think that she's perfectly normal and calm, and then suddenly she'll change her behavior because she is still mostly a wild animal.
And the very same thing could happen if she was out in the wild. She could walk up to a stranger in the park and
Right.
and really scare somebody. So, and that wouldn't be safe for her either. So, are you exploring? Are you looking for stuff and smelling stuff?
Get you interested in your digging a little bit more?
Oh, what did one put in there? Is there something good? Oh, is there like chicken parts?
That's
yeah.
pig ear, yeah.
Oh, it was a pig ear?
One thing she loves to do, and you kind of hadn't seen that today because we don't have her actual food, but as soon as she gets her food out, she'll pick a piece, go hide it somewhere, pick another piece, and maybe put it somewhere else, and then go back and eat them later. And that is definitely natural fox behavior. They do that in the wild all the time to create little caches of food in case a bigger animal comes and takes whatever they're eating. They can go back and find more somewhere else. And so that's why if you look around, there's a bunch of little tiny holes in the ground where she likes to bury little pieces of chicken and just stuff that she'll save for later and then eat it whenever she's in the mood for it.
And I don't know specifically about gray foxes, but I know that studies have shown and indicated that animals that do that, like squirrels, for example, are really, they really contribute to helping found forests.
Right.
Because a lot of times they'll forget where they left stuff and it'll sprout and there's your baby tree. So this is just another way that they interact with the ecosystem around them, whether directly or indirectly. This is
what my hands are doing.
This is Nikita. Is that everything? You did a good job. Do you want some more grass?
She's just showing off her climbing skills.
Oh, you want the leaf? You want to play with the leaf? She's lost interest.
Yeah, she gets all over the place sometimes. You can tell she's trying to pay attention to too many things at once. Especially if there are a lot of noises and flies and dinosaurs and everything else going on.
Back to the grasshoppers and live food sort of thing. I imagine part of the reason that she might be hesitant at first is they've got kind of spurs on their legs, which can be a little uncomfortable if they're still alive and kicking when you first try to bite in.
Yeah,
So,
I guess that's something that we don't always think about with predators, but when they have to go after live prey, they also have to take care of themselves in the process and make sure that they're not going to get hurt eating because they have to do everything with their face. So that can pose a threat to their safety.
as you can see, we do have field trips here today. And you can hear from the animal's perspective why we ask that you try to use your indoor voices and be respectful of their home, because it is pretty loud. And it does appear that Nikita is not super bothered by it, but it is a nice thing to do because it is her home. She's got a little itchy head. Scratching her head a bunch like a fox. I mean, like a dog. Yeah. And they are in the same family as dogs, and that's why you notice the resemblance. So they have some characteristics that are very similar, but obviously some characteristics that are very different.
Oh, I don't think we said this. We think she's just over a year old, around that. So she is fairly young still.
And very inquisitive.
And clearly an amazing climber.
And again, just to mention, the gray fox is one of 2 Canidae species that do climb trees. If you have a dog, you know that sometimes they will climb trees, but that's not their preferred habitat. Whereas for her, that would be a great spot. Or you like my phone? Is it sparkly? Checking the things out. You're rustling the papers. Oh. It's like, there's nothing in there. Maybe you put the grass over there? Too late.
Often she will just take a shortcut from here to there. And you can see how easily she can propel her body in the air.
I think stuff like that is really interesting too, to reinforce that they don't look that strong, but the sheer power that they can just generate in a moment and propel themselves that far, clearly she has a lot of muscle content there.
She's being pretty relaxed today, but she can be extremely fast when she wants to.
Do you get the zoomies?
Mm-hmm.
We all get the zoomies sometimes. And she chase sticks.
Sometimes she will chase them, and she's, you know, kind of like when dogs pick him up and then never bring him back, but then expect you to still throw something, and she'll do that.
What was that?
She definitely reacts to almost any sound, and it seems like the quieter, the more of a reaction you get when she hears birds. Especially in the afternoons, a lot of birds come and start hopping around here looking for food. And every time you hear one, she's like on the edge of the wire trying to figure out.
Are you watching the butterfly? Are you watching the butterfly? Are you an expert hunter? Are you an expert hunter? I actually cannot remember what kind of lifespan they have. Tammy is asking.
In captivity, I think probably like 10 to 12 years is pretty reasonable.
I was thinking that was about right.
Obviously in the wild it's a lot shorter, especially because they're so small. And even though they are a predator, they are still things that they have to worry about. There could be a threat to them, bigger animals, even mountain lions, bobcats, feral dogs, all those things. But if they're taken care of in captivity, they can last over a decade.
It's clear at their size that they are high on the food chain, but probably not top of the food chain. You're being very good this morning. We appreciate it. Oh, you ready to take off? Take a little snooze? We can respect that. We can respect that.
She loves
Give you a
to
little
take
rest.
naps, and especially this summer was her first summer in Texas, so this was her first summer alive, really, and she kind of had a hard time with the heat for a while, and we noticed that she was sleeping through the day a whole lot more than she normally did because the heat was just overwhelming her.
I understand.
But what she'll do is find a cool shaded spot and take a nap. Sometimes she'll lay down by the edges of the enclosure because the concrete stays a little bit cooler. And she'll just take a nap in a cool spot for a little bit. Try to wear away the worst hours of the day.
Well,
Shade.
would you like a little rest time, Nikita? Thank you for letting us show you this morning.
Yeah, you're good today.
You're a very good girl, and I hope you enjoyed the enrichment. Yeah. Okay, we'll see you later, all right?
Your online presence has worn her out.
Thank you. Your fans thank you also. We will exit again safely. What did you have in the little ball?
The little board just has freeze-dried larvae.
Oh, okay.
So just more bugs. She does eat a lot of bug stuff. So she'll eat larvae, she'll eat like wax worms and stuff like that. And of course, the live grasshoppers. Which in the wild, that is something they would eat a lot of. It's just the bugs they find in the brush.
And up next, we are going to go to, I believe, our skunks. As you can see, we have a lot of visitors today. We hope you have some time. You can get out and enjoy this nice weather too. Good morning.
Do you have cheese, Meg? As we get closer to the village.
Oops, my shoe's untied. Just stuff them in. I think it just came untied. No, oddly enough, this time she was very calm. So now we are heading in to show you some of our enrichment with the skunks. Which skunk species are they? Remind me. Striped?
Striped. Yes.
So there are actually several species of skunk in the United States. And these are the striped skunks. And Meg is taking us, ooh, squeaky. Sorry for you at home if that was loud.
Hello, Pine. Hello, Pine.
This is Pine.
Hello, Pine. Let's see if you can get.
And this is actually the first time I've met Pine in person, so she's investigating me. We'll just let her figure it out. Yeah. Just checking it out.
Yeah.
And that's Clover. And remind me how old they are because I've lost track of time.
And that, I do not remember. Ron, do you know how old they are about?
Very young.
They're less than a year, right?
Yeah, less than a year for sure. Maybe coming up to, but less than a year.
I just couldn't remember how many months old.
I can't either.
As you can see,
This one's Pine, and this one's Clover.
the beautiful display.
Yeah. Clover has more, she's the female, and she has more of the white in her tail than Pine does. So, all right, well, you can tell they've already found their enrichment.
The nose doesn't lie. Am I in your way?
No, do you want it like...
I'm fine with wherever you think is good for them.
Watch out, guys.
Ooh, exciting stuff. What's in there?
Like PETA right away.
You can tell they're very hesitant about looking for it. Very slow to decide to discover. If you're just joining in, there's actually 2 skunks there. I know it's hard to tell, but there are two little bodies, and they are siblings. And they came here as well because they're non-releasable. Do you remember what their story is? I don't off the top of my head, but I know he has neurological issues.
Yes, he does. He does.
And I think they're both also too acclimated to people,
yes,
if I remember correctly.
I think that is right. I have forgotten also. They came from the same place. They came on the same day that Dawn came.
And Dawn being the deer.
Rehabber. Dawn had. Yeah, she seems to be sometimes a little more feisty with the food.
But orient me again, which one is?
This one is Clover. She's the girl, and she has the big fluffy tail with lots of white in it, and
then this one is Pine,
and then Pine doesn't have quite as much.
You can tell that he smells the fox on my ankles.
Did y'all find it? Are you already done? Are you already finished?
So, just as a reminder, we're out here in honor of North Texas Giving Day, so that you can understand what we're trying to raise money for. And our hope is to replace our Animal Care Cottage so that our care time is even more efficient, and then we have more time for enrichment activities like this and other things as well. Because it really brings, obviously, a lot of benefit to the animals to be able to practice these natural behaviors, just keep them mentally stimulated. And Meg, would it be an imposition if we talk about your background?
Oh, no, it would not.
Okay. So you guys, I'm going to introduce you to Meg Latham.
Hi.
And she's one of our most excellent volunteers. and I'm embarrassing her.
Yes.
You can hear the roaring clapping in the background. But Meg actually grew up on this property because
Yes.
her father was the first executive director of the museum.
Exactly. And I love these skunks because I had a skunk growing up. Now, back in the day, you did not have to have as many permits for keeping wildlife. But also my dad had his doctorate in herpetology and zoology, and so he knew a lot, of course, about animals and rehabbing them, and if they were not releasable, taking care of them. So
They're just having a blast.
yes, they are. They're
Sorry
both
to cut
trying
away
get,
from
no,
you.
that is totally fine.
They're just
because
having such a good time.
that's a better a better shot.
As you can see, we upcycle around here. This is the sophisticated Ziploc box.
With the shaving.
But you never know what you can turn into a fun activity for these little guys. Again, they're practicing their foraging behaviors, so it just kind of helps them simulate the sort of things that they would be doing out in the wild. Skunks get a pretty bad rap because of their smell defense, but generally speaking, as long as you leave them alone, that's not really a problem. They eat all sorts of bugs that we don't like in our yards and gardens. So perhaps consider giving them a little leeway.
And if you see a wild skunk, you probably want to give it its space because they have pretty poor vision. So you probably wouldn't want to surprise or startle a wild skunk.
Make sure you make noise. Let them have time to move away on their own. What did you put in the Kong?
Craisins and shrimp. Little dried
Shrimp.
Yeah, that's what smells so good.
And again, these aren't things that we feed them in large quantities. They're just items that they can eat, that they really enjoy, that we use for these enrichment activities to really stimulate them to participate and keep them engaged.
Here, Pine. I've got another one over here.
I'm sorry, would you like to jump back in where I
Oh, no,
cut you off?
That's totally fine.
They were just so engaged at that moment.
But I did use, even though our skunk was kind of like a pet skunk and she lived with us at our house, we did use her, of course, as educational means also to educate the public about skunks and rehabbing.
And as you can
guys.
see, they really like underground dwellings.
There you
So
go.
even though they
There's
have
two of
this
them.
nice box, they really like to spend time under it as well.
There you go. You each get one.
And if you've ever interacted with an animal, you know they always have their own preferences, and some of that is informed by instinct.
I don't care how much effort you put into building a shelter box for.
Cats come to mind where people build those impressive towers, and then all they want to do is spend time in the box.
Cardboard box.
Yes.
And small children.
That's true.
you buy the shiny toy, and they want to spend time in the big box it came in.
That's right.
Fridge boxes.
Use your imagination. Is he taking it back there?
I know. It's like, hey.
Oh, she's taking it back there.
Yeah. How I remember or try to remember that she is the female is that all of that white in her tail reminds me of Cruella de Vil.
Oh, that's funny.
And her, fur, whatever. So I think of her as
Well, now that you pointed out the difference twice.
Yeah.
I have picked up on it.
Yeah.
It was just at first
Well, it takes a while.
And we are going to be expanding this. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. What was that? What was that, Miss?
There's the
What was
tail
that, Mister?
end.
We will be expanding this enclosure as well, so they will have even more space. We have some fun natural elements, little logs and things like that. So Miss Meg has put more craisins in their little dig bin. So some more foraging. And as you can see, they could definitely smell it, and their nose took them right to it.
You can see some parks around here, some places where they've been digging, and they like to dig, and that's just their natural.
And that's completely okay. Just make
what they
yourselves
do.
comfortable. Let's check out Pine enjoying his little craisins. Get that little leg in. It doesn't quite stay.
Here. Fine, you're so funny. I think I'll just hang out here. Oh, watch out. She's
Uh-oh,
coming.
here she
There
comes.
you go. Some motivation.
You don't really think about their vocalizations, but they clearly have some.
Yes, they do. If they get surprised or if they get angry, they'll stamp their little front feet and their tails will fly up, and sometimes they'll chatter at you.
Let me get closer to you so you can explain that part.
Oh, yes. So if they get scared or mad at something, their tails will fly up and they'll stomp their front feet, and then they'll do a little chattering noise at you. And so, yes, they can have some different vocalizations to get their point across.
I should have bought a microphone for these sorts of purposes, but I haven't. If anybody knows of a good microphone for these purposes and would like to donate one, it would be very appreciated. Was there someone else we were going to talk to today? I can't remember.
Raccoons?
Oh, that's right. And in a moment, we're going to take you guys to meet the raccoons. They're still looking to make sure that they didn't miss any of the fun surprises.
I threw some in that log, so that's why.
They can smell
That's
them, they
why
just haven't
Clover
found
is
them.
Hiding in there. Yeah, you better. If you went from the other end.
Oh, what are they doing? What are you doing? Oh, I can't tell which one it was, but she basically jumped on top and was like, mine.
Yeah, it's definitely a competition. Sometimes.
Ask me later what I was saying. Digging in, digging in. Did you get them all? Good job. Good job. And it's important to note, we don't just leave these boxes and things in with them unattended for their safety, and that's part of why it has to be supervised, because you never want them to ingest something like that, and it can, you know, cause digestive problems and things like that. So it's important that we be able to supervise these sorts of activities and not just put them in here and leave. Oh, there's some more. Not done yet. He knows there's still something there.
I know it. Be fine. Can you find it? Clover's going back for another round.
And so skunks are also omnivores, meaning they'll eat, I think they're omnivores, right? They'll eat plant material as well as animal proteins, things like that. Bugs, small animals.
Is that done?
And as we mentioned, they have not, oh, look at that. Haha.
So,
She had thoughts about that.
yep, something scared her.
She had thoughts? Did something happen? I didn't move.
It could be the loose little thing.
Clover is the more jumpy one.
Yes, she is. Silly girl. Aww.
Is there any more in there? I guess let's go ahead and go to the raccoons now. And we have this double door system to keep everybody secure and safe. And they will be expanding into this space, so getting double the space. Thank you. Next up, we will introduce you to the raccoons. As we pass the lemurs, who are also very excited about our activities. And it's important to mention that all of these animals are vaccinated for rabies.
Especially our rabies vectors, which would include the raccoons.
Could you?
It doesn't.
You want to just get it?
So here for them we have a carcass box, which you've already seen, and a bag for them to rip into. Make use of their nose.
And this is actually her first time meeting me. So, whoops.
She likes to go hide behind
Sorry.
here. Come on, Ricky. Come on.
Hi.
We got Ricky up top here. She is a female raccoon. She is a lot more timid than Harley, which we have over there, our male.
Who is also smelling me. You can tell.
She's more timid. He's more standoffish. Are you guys still
requiring masks to come through here?
Yes. She's investigating very carefully to see what's going on before she digs in. And if you've been watching the other two that had boxes like this is a different reaction. She's very curious. They have a very strong sense of smell. Ricky is very acclimated to people, but she is very skittish also. When she was illegally kept as a pet, she actually grew up with Yorkies.
There we go.
And the two of them do make an interesting pair, because even though she's timid, he likes to take care of her. And as I mentioned, I have not been in the enclosure with these guys before, so it's a little different dynamic for them, but they're handling it pretty well. So we just stay calm and give them their space.
Especially for Ricky, as I mentioned a few times, she is more timid. Anytime that there is a large crowd of people on the outside or anything like that, she'll usually go and hide. So given that there's a new person in here with them, she's being a little slow for the enrichment, but she's feeling more comfortable now.
I'd say all things considered, though, she seems pretty.
Yeah.
I think she's more concerned about
The
crowds over at the Pioneer Village. And again, as I've mentioned earlier, this is one of the reasons that I know it's fun to be loud outside, but we do ask our visitors to try and keep their voices down some, for the respect of both the animals that we have in captivity, but also the wildlife that are out on the trails, because you're always more likely to see them out there when you're being respectful of their home. But also our animals in the enclosures just appreciate the peace and quiet as well, because they are wild animals. As you can see, she's looking through the grate over towards the Pioneer Village.
Sure, the coast is clear.
We do have a field trip here today, so there's a lot more activity. Is there anything exciting in there?
Now you might see them kind of feel around very gently with their hands, kind of pat down on the surface of the box. That's something that's pretty well known about the raccoons, is they're very hands-on with most things, with food or anything that they're curious about. They have a lot of nerves on the end of their hands, so they're very sensitive. So that's one of the main ways that they explore their surroundings, is by feel.
And an interesting point of note to add to that is that being in the water also accentuates their sensitivity. And so they will often put things in the water so that they can investigate it more thoroughly. And actually, there are several Native American languages, and I think several other languages, where their name literally translates to washer dog for that reason, because people see them put things in water and it kind of looks like they're washing, but they're actually just trying to feel things. And there goes Ricky climbing.
They also like to eat a lot of shellfish and snails and that type of stuff, so they'll spend a lot of time by waterways anyways, just looking for those critters and
Like
flushing them out of their shells with the water.
crawdads and things like that.
Yeah. Ricky up top. I believe in here we put in craisins and walnuts. That's more or less the staple for everybody's enrichment. Some of our animals don't like nuts, like for example the lemurs don't really care too much about nuts, so we don't offer them that. With the skunks and the fox, sometimes we'll give them some kind of insect as well, some kind of fragrant plants also. Just some other ways to stimulate their senses.
And again, if you are just joining us, we are out here introducing some of our animal ambassadors in case you haven't met them before, in honor of North Texas Giving Day. We are raising money to work to replace and upgrade the Animal Care Cottage so that we can more efficiently take care of them, and it'll give us more time and resources to be able to provide these sorts of enrichment activities. It is important that they be supervised when they're doing these sorts of things because it involves things that they probably shouldn't ingest and things like that. So we like to make sure that we keep an eye on them and take care of them. And somebody mentioned that he actually likes to play with the trucks in the water, right?
Yes, so you can actually, you're kind of covering it with the bag now, but you can see one on that platform. There's one right below. There's a few Hot Wheels kind of scattered all over the enclosure here. They like to put them in water, as Stephanie mentioned earlier. They like to put things in water because some of these cars also have like kind of cavities inside of them. They also like to put them in the water to flush the water through them. Which on that too, with some of the other enrichment that we sometimes give them, we'll offer them these Kong balls, which are like a rubber hollow ball that we put treats in, and usually an animal has to roll those around to kind of and manipulate it to get the treats to fall out of a hole. But what the raccoons will do is take the ball into the water tubs and then fill them with water and flush it all out so the treats come out with the water.
That's pretty smart. Mary said that Harley also takes the Hot Wheels to bed.
Yeah, every now and then we'll find a car in their shelter box too.
You don't want to miss out on the fun.
This last Christmas, we gave them a few fresh, new Hot Wheels.
Ooh, Hot Wheels. Is that something we regularly need for them, or?
We'll replace them about yearly. It kind of depends on how quickly they go through them. They tend to like pull off the wheels and stuff like that. Part of the reason that we don't leave a whole lot of stuff with these guys, or we're also kind of limited in some of the enrichment stuff we can give them, is because they will destroy most things that are made out of some kind of soft plastic or anything like that. They will just destroy it.
And clearly you don't want them to ingest that and get it stuck in their bellies or things like that. So you can see one of our field trips coming through behind. Harley's very curious about what they're doing. This group is being very respectful of their noise level. We appreciate that.
Ricky being shy.
Hey! Oh, Ricky went into her enclosure box. She loves to snuggle in with the materials. Likes to wrap herself up in the cloth sometimes. Is there something exciting in there?
So we've got some shrimp in there as well.
Ooh, shrimp. Looks like there's maybe a mealworm. Or no, that's a shrimp.
More shrimp, yeah.
Let me get out of your way. And as they're not familiar with me, I'm just trying to be respectful of their space. Harley is investigating some more.
Now that the big field trip has passed, Ricky's coming back out.
Oh, goodness. Hey, you coming to see? I don't have anything exciting, I'm sorry. I am obviously not an expert videographer, but I try. We have some concrete slabs and rocks in here. Part of that is they stay cooler when it's hot outside, so it gives them a spot where they can cool off in addition to getting in the water. And you probably just saw him. If you put one of the Hot Wheels in there, do you think you would interact with it, or?
Maybe. Sometimes he'll take a rock from me. There's like a little round one of these. He's kind of messing with them in there.
You see? As you can see, he'll kind of slosh things around in there and feel a little more, while he's also subtly getting a drink. Gotta stay hydrated. You can kind of see him patting around in the water, feeling around. And then he actually brings his paw up to smell it too.
It's basically what they would do at a bank, at a creek or something, as they look for, like I said, shellfish, snails, crustaceans.
So with the heat being so prevalent, we've been doing a lot of activities to try and help them stay cool and give them some extra cool times with iced things and wetting down the rocks and things like that. Oh, showing you firsthand his little rock washing activity. And again, he's not actually washing them, even though it looks like it. He's getting a better sense of how they feel. And it more informs his understanding of his surroundings. He's really interested in my phone, I think.
Really? And depending on the heat, some ways that we will try to cool them off will be, we'll offer them some frozen ice bottles throughout the day so that they could lean up against them if they wanted to. On really hot days, we also freeze blocks of ice and we'll distribute them through the cages. Sometimes we'll put them in their water tubs to keep the water nice and cool and refreshed. Other times we'll kind of use them similarly as the bottles so that they can kind of lean up against them. Maybe we'll put treats in them too to encourage them to lap up some ice cubes and stuff like that, cool off that way. Every now and then we'll install some misters to the cages too. We try not to do that too much because the animals don't really enjoy it, but when we're dealing with extreme heats, it's sometimes the better call to make them a little uncomfortable so that they don't have heat stroke or something like that.
Well, and also with a lot of these animals too, they don't have the evaporative cooling like we do. They only have the respiration, so
just certain spots like the paws and whatnot that they can sweat through.
And sometimes you just need that little boost.
Which is why a lot of animals pant.
Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed getting to meet some of the animal ambassadors more personally today, or for the first time if you've never met them. And we thank you for joining us. We hope you will consider contributing to our program for North Texas Giving Day. And I'm sorry that the noise in the background, the field trip is going a little crazy, but we should have somebody attending to that soon. But just thank you again so much. Visit northtexasgivingday.org/Herd Museum if you would like to contribute. And again, we just thank you so much.